Alrighty, let's head over to our NBA Power Rankings. We update this every Friday, and today is Mother Loving Friday, folks. So, we have a huge shakeup in the top 10. We have a new number 1. We have a new number 2. We have three new teams here in the top 10. So, absolutely well done by all those teams. Great week in the NBA. So here we go. This was the power rankings coming into this week. Bulls at 10, Hawks at 9, Mavs at 8, Grizzlies at 7, 76ers at 6, Jazz at 5, Suns at 4, Clippers at 3, Nets at 2, and the Nuggets at 1. Alrighty, before we start kind of reordering our new top 10 here, I am going to tell you why we are kicking the teams out of the top 10 here. We have 3 teams coming into the top 10, so we have to kick 3 teams out. So we'll tell you why we're kicking these teams out, and then we'll go and reorder the new top 10. So the first team that we are kicking out is the Bulls. Absolutely. I mean, we gave them one chance. We put them in the top 10 because they went on a 3-game winning streak, looking good, had it all figured out after the trade deadline. We graced them. We blessed them. We put them in our top 10. We showed, hey, we truly believe in this Bulls team. And what do they do? To kind of pay us back of us putting them in the top 10, they go 0-4, 4-game losing streak. Zach LaVine is injured, and the COVID-19 protocols for 10 to 14 days as well. So 0-4 this week, absolutely trash. Losing against the Hawks, the Timberwolves, the Grizzlies, the Magic. Come on, these are all the teams you need to start beating if you want a chance to get into the playoffs. The Bulls lost all those games, truly letting us down. I thought Vucevic and Zach LaVine and Thaddeus Young would work together. That's not getting it done. Thaddeus Young is playing like 14 minutes in the starting rotation. I want that man to come off the bench. Kobe White's not getting it done off the bench. Maybe move Daniel Tyson to that starting rotation as well. But now that Zach LaVine is out, I mean, there's really no hope for this Bulls team. They're currently the 10th seed in the East. Don't think they'll make the play-in tournament when it's all said and done. With Zach LaVine being out to 10 to 14 days, they barely won with Zach LaVine. There's nobody to step up in the presence of Zach LaVine and get that same scoring production and some to not only make up for Zach LaVine, but to also make up for what you would have done off the bench. So you got to do double duty out here. You got to do what you did and what Zach LaVine would do as well. So there's nobody on this Bulls team to step it up. They weren't stepping it up with Zach LaVine in the starting lineup, so they're not going to step it up with him out of the lineup. So truly, Bulls let us down big time. We believed in them for about a week and a half, and it felt real good, but now they're 0-4. So Bulls are no longer in the top 10, and I don't think they'll ever make the top 10 for the rest of the season. Alrighty, the other team we're moving out of the top 10 is the Mavericks. Not really too much of what they've done, just kind of seen some better play by some other teams. The Mavericks are really kind of Luka dependent. If he's not out there, putting up 35, 40 plus points a game, they're not going to win. If he's not out there hitting buzzer beaters, they're not going to win. I mean, Luka is really just the only great player on this team, and he's absolutely fantastic. Do not get us wrong, but this last week, they went 1-2. They lost they beat the Grizzlies by Luka Doncic, floating 3-pointer that went down. But then they lose against the Spurs and the 76ers. So teams that they need to start beating a little bit more consistently. We had them in our top 10, taking them slowly, but we're still getting no real great production from that bench. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been really floundering these last couple of games here, really letting the team down. He's a huge scorer off that bench for them. And then, it's only Porzingis and Luka Doncic in that starting lineup. Nobody else in that starting lineup gets solid, good production out there, and they're not winning games because of it. So we are going to move the Mavs out of the top 10 as well. We have other teams that are looking a little bit better out here. So got to move them out. And then the last team we're moving out is the Grizzlies. Once again, letting us down. They got 3 games above 500, looking real good, beating some real good teams. But then just this week, they went 1-3. They beat the Bulls. Okay, they're not even a good team anymore. And then they lose against the Knicks, the Pacers, and the Mavs. So really kind of, once again, bad losses. They need to start winning all those games. They blew that game against the Knicks. John Morant had a potential game winner on that shot, but it did not fall. Goes in overtime. They can't get it done in overtime. So Grizzlies, man, they go on these spurs of just good runs and looking all good, but then they're back to 500. It's literally what the Grizzlies do. They'll get a game above 500, maybe 2 games above 500, then they'll be back at 500, a game below 500, then back at 500, a game above, back, below, above. I mean, folks, that's what the Grizzlies do all season. We've fallen for it time and time again, but we're ready to nip it in the bud a little bit here. Grizzlies are out of the top 10. So say goodbye to the Bulls, say goodbye to the Mavericks, say goodbye to the Grizzlies. They can get back in the top 10 next week, but for right now, we got 3 new teams to introduce. So let's start ordering our new top 10 here and talking about the power rankings. So here we go, the new power rankings, the new top 10 in the NBA. Let's start here at number 10, and I'm giving them a little bit of a second chance here, a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. The Hawks, we moved them down from 9 to 10. This last week, the Hawks went 3-1. They beat the Bulls, the Hornets, and the Raptors. Is that the Raptors? What is that? That looks like the Raptors. They beat 3 teams. I think I wrote those down right. I can't even read my own handwriting. Truly unfortunate. But they beat the Bulls, the Hornets, and I think that's the Raptors. Yeah, we'll call that the Raptors. But then they lost against the Bull. The Bucks. They just lost against the Bucks last night. My apologies. We knew they weren't going to be the Bucks. We just chose the Bucks -4 last night. A hit. Fantastic for us. But I don't want to take the Hawks out of the top 10 just quite yet. They're still a very, very good team. They're just not ready to beat like any of these top 9 teams. So they're still very good. I want to give them another week here in the top 10. Don't really want to move them out just quite yet because they are still good against kind of, the average to below average teams, which is obviously good. That's how you get better. But at some point we need to start to see you beat the better teams a little bit more consistently. And they were decently competitive in that Bucks game, so that's why we're not truly taking them out of the top 10 just quite yet. We'll move them back a spot. We'll see what they do this week, and then if we have to move them out for next week, we will. But I want to give them one more chance here. Bogdanovich is going absolutely out of his mind. Lou Williams still has to get a little bit better off the bench, but overall they still can kind of hang with some of these better teams. So we'll leave them at 10, but they got to start to step it up and need to start to see them start winning some of these upper echelon games that they need to start winning. So Hawks at 10, we'll give them one more week here. Alrighty, new number 9 team, and this is a new team here in the top 10, and we're going to give it to the Warriors, man. Steph Curry's making an MVP case. He's doing it all himself, and we're going to kind of respect this team with a power rankings nod. We did end up moving them to 9 over the Hawks because, this is kind of the last chance for the Hawks here. I do kind of want to emphasize that. I have to see the Hawks start beating some of these better teams. I mean, the Warriors just went out and beat the Nuggets. That was their best win of the week. Absolutely fantastic. They ended up going 4-0 this week. They beat, where are we at? They beat the Rockets, the Nuggets, the Thunder, and the Cavs. Just absolutely great. Oh, they did lose against the Wizards this week. That was that Friday game. So they did lose against the Wizards. Buzzer beater once again, kind of beating them. But all 4 of these wins against the Rockets, the Nuggets, the Thunder, the Cavs, all kind of blowouts. All kind of like 10+ point wins. I think they even won by 30 against the Thunder that game, where Steph Curry just went absolutely crazy. Didn't even play in the fourth quarter. So Warriors are getting it done. This 9th seed was really between the Knicks and the Warriors. They really kind of are on both 4-game winning streaks, but the main difference that I saw between the Knicks and the Warriors this week was the Warriors blowing out teams. The Knicks just kind of winning closely, and that's still fine. Don't get us wrong, that's fine. And they even lost closely as well. Like I said, the Knicks are on a 4-game winning streak, but their last 2 games before that winning streak, they lost by 2 against the Celtics, and they lost by 2 against the Nets. So they're just close in all their games they play, which I can truly respect, but this Warriors team is starting to hit their stride, starting to blow out teams. I think I'm going to value that a little bit more than over the Knicks this week, but maybe the Knicks at maybe 11 outside looking in. But back to this Warriors team, Steph Curry getting it done, actually looking a little better without Kelly Oubre Jr. in the lineup. How crazy is that? With Kelly Oubre gone and out of the lineup injured, they're 4-0, folks. I mean, Steph Curry's getting it done. Andrew Wiggins is stepping it up. I mean, literally everybody's having some nice performances without Kelly Oubre in the starting lineup. So, I don't know, maybe that's hurting the team, but Steph Curry is getting it done single-handedly. Like I said, they just beat the Nuggets, and Jamal Murray still was in the game. He didn't get injured till like the last minute of the fourth quarter, so that's not an excuse why the Nuggets lost. The Warriors went out there and beat them. That's what Steph Curry can do on a nightly basis. With the Warriors, I know they always rise to the occasion with whichever team they play, the best team, the worst team, they always rise up to the occasion because Steph Curry's that great of a freaking player. So I'm respecting the Warriors. I'm respecting Steph Curry. We're talking about Steph Curry in our MVP discussion now, and I'm going to praise the Warriors with the 9th seed this week. Alrighty, new number 8 team now, and we got to put the Bucks. Alrighty, real nice week this week. Bucks going. What do they do this week? They beat the Magic, the Timberwolves, and the Hawks just last night, and then they ended up losing to the Hornets, unfortunately. But, Giannis hasn't played in the last 6 games, and they've been winning kind of solidly, consistently without Giannis, so that's great. We want to see what you can do, what your team can do without having its best player. I mean, Kyrie Irving all by himself can't win games. He just can't do it by himself for some reason. He's the only superstar that gets a free pass out there of not single-handedly carrying a team. I mean, do you think Kyrie Irving could do what Steph Curry is doing for this Warriors team, of the lack of talent on this Warriors team? Do you think Kyrie Irving could kind of elevate their play like Steph Curry does while also dropping 40 plus a game? I don't see it, man. So Bucks here at number 8, they just got Giannis back last night, and that's why they were able to beat the Hawks. But they're kind of B squad without Giannis. They are still kind of competitive in games, and they've shown us that they've won games. I mean, like I said, they went 4-1 this week, or 3-1 this week. So absolutely fantastic here by the Bucks. All back on. The bench is starting to get a little bit more consistent out here. Let's go to the bench really quickly. Bobby Portis, PJ Tucker's finally back as well. Him and Giannis have been missing a lot of games over the past kind of week and a half. Jeff Teague stepping it up. So very, very well done out here. Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday have both really been stepping it up in absence of Giannis, but now that Giannis is back, they're kind of fitting right back into the roles of what they need to do to win. So gotta respect this Bucks team a little bit more now. Great week by them, and we move them at number 8. Alrighty, new number 7 team now, and this one is just unfortunate here. We got to drop them down a little bit. They were, did we drop them down that big? Oof, we did. Damn, I didn't think I dropped them down that big. Yeah, damn, all right. Alrighty. Here we go. The number 1 team, folks. It has fallen. It has fallen. The number 1 team going into this week, the Nuggets. We now drop them down to number 7. Truly, truly, truly unfortunate is what happened this kind of past week ever since Jamal Murray went down. Now, Jamal Murray did go down against the Warriors. They did get kind of blown out by the Warriors a little bit. Not really great there. But once Jamal Murray went down, Monte Morris steps up, and then they faced the Heat. They ended up winning the game and kind of won it really nicely. I think they won it by like 15 or more points. So that was a real great look. Over the last kind of, week, they beat the Spurs and the Heat, lost against the Celtics and the Warriors. Really not great losses here. Losing both of those games with Jamal Murray in the starting lineup, really not great there. Now losing Jamal Murray, now their bench gets a little bit less deep, and we know that was kind of the big knock that we had on this Nuggets team. We really can't rely on the bench too much for scoring. We don't really have that many scorers out there. We know they're kind of in talks of possibly getting Austin Rivers, who would definitely help this team a lot, whether he goes and gets the starting role over Monte Morris or just comes off the bench and provides that kind of spark that they definitely are going to need off the bench. But gonna have to drop this Nuggets team down a little bit. just because of who else we're putting in the top 10 now. And, losing Jamal Murray, I have to see them kind of take this week and see what they can do. Like I said, they won their first game without him. That's fantastic. That's absolutely great. Jokic is still getting it done. Michael Porter Jr. is still getting it done. Aaron Gordon is probably going to start elevating his role a little bit, because we've seen when Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray both in the starting lineup of their kind of stacked roster of, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Jokic, and Jamal Murray. Aaron Gordon was the one that was always getting like the least amount of points, just at that 4 spot, just kind of being good defensively, not taking a lot of shots, not scoring a lot of points, just kind of facilitating the floor a little bit, and still kind of, getting great defensive production out of it. But we are going to have to move this Nuggets team back a little bit. Can they survive without Jamal Murray? Jamal Murray was clutch. He was a great facilitator on the floor. We saw Monte Morris step it up against the Heat, but the Heat team has been kind of struggling a little bit. So we'll see what the Nuggets can do. Have to move them back a little bit just of how well other teams have been progressing. So truly, truly unfortunate. They had a good week at number 1. Unfortunately, it comes to a little bit of a screaming halt here. We had to drop them down to number 7. Alrighty, new number 6 team, and man, oh man, finally getting it done. Absolutely no bench over this last week, and they still are just 5-0, getting it done. So well done. Number 6 is the Boston Celtics. Absolutely magnificent. Jason Tatum is putting the team on his back. We just saw Jaylen Brown put the team on his back last night, getting 40 points. Absolutely fantastic. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are an absolutely fearsome duo, folks. They are a true elite duo in this league. You must respect what Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown can do on a nightly basis for the Celtics team. Now, Evan Fournier has been out this entire week, and they're still winning games without the bench. The starters are getting it done all by themselves out there, and I'm absolutely super impressed with that. So, over the last week, they beat the Timberwolves, they beat the Nuggets with Jamal Murray healthy, they beat the Blazers, they beat the Lakers. So, really good wins, good solid wins, especially not having Evan Fournier off the bench because of the COVID-19 protocols. Tristan Thompson and Greg Williams have been kind of, in and out, inconsistent, but whoever's out there in the starting lineup is getting it done. Great production at that starting 5. Kemba Walker's getting it done. Marcus Smart's getting it done. They've got absolutely a garbage bench. They have the worst bench of the top 10 here, folks. They truly do. But they are now winning games consistently because Jason Tatum over these last 2 weeks has gone beast mode. He's flipped the switch. He's been a little lackluster throughout the entire season, but now he's starting to step it up, trying to get better playoff positioning here, are they now in the top 6 now? Because I know they were kind of rivaling like 8 a little bit. Now they're 5. Now they're the 5th seed. So very, very, very well done for the Celtics team. Truly impressive over the last 2 weeks. So we got to kind of honor them by moving them up to number 6. And we also have to move them over the Nuggets since they won the head-to-head with Jamal Murray. So that's why we had to drop the Nuggets down a little bit lower than maybe we wanted to a little bit. All right, so Celtics S6, super impressive, and I hope they don't flounder. I hope they continue to impress me because I'll keep moving them up. I have no problem moving the Celtics into the top 5, honestly. All righty, talking about top 5, let's get to number 5 here. This team dropping back a little bit. Yeah, number 1 dropping from number 1, the Nuggets, to number 7. And number 2, the Nets, dropping from 2 to 5 here. We're putting the Nets at number 5. All righty, a little bit of inconsistencies here in the starting lineup over the last week. Kevin Durant in, Kevin Durant out, Kyrie Irving in, Kyrie Irving out. So over the last week, they went 1-2, nothing great. They beat the Timberwolves. Congrats. And then they lose against the Lakers and the 76ers, and that Lakers win is truly inexcusable. I do not care that Kyrie Irving got tossed midway through the game. They were losing up until that point anyway. So can't really trust Kyrie Irving to kind of be that true leader that this team needs. We see Kevin Durant getting arguments on Twitter every night. We see Kyrie Irving getting into it, not playing, getting thrown out of games, and then not playing, cryptic tweets, all of that, trying to just do too much, just not focusing what's going on the floor, getting ejected, hurting his team, not being that leader, not being that kind of, floor facilitator that this Nets team needs. We see Joe Harris floundering floundering when it's just Kyrie Irving out there, and we never see that with just Kevin Durant on the floor, and we definitely don't see that with just James Harden on the floor. So, why do you hurt Joe Harris's game? Why we have to start looking at Kyrie Irving a little bit more on that. Yes, he's a great talent, not a great leader, can't lead this Nets team by himself. The inconsistencies here between their chemistry with, everybody just being out like every other game, nothing consistent. So dropping this Nets team back a little bit here. I've got better teams that have better chemistry, that are still getting it done, that went through a little bit of early phase woes a little bit, but, made them more tough, made them better in the long run, where this Nets team, they're just, in and out and nothing consistent, and nobody's stepping up on a nightly basis besides James Harden, but now he's out for a long period of time, and I really just cannot trust Kyrie Irving out there by himself on this team. So we move the Nets back to number 5. Alrighty, new number 4 team here. Yes, sir. Moving up a little bit here in the top 10. We got the Philadelphia 76ers at number 4. Joel Embiid is back, looking better than ever. Tobias Harris was getting it done without him out there, so fantastic work. But the 76ers over the last week, they went 3-1. They beat the Thunder, the Mavs, and the Nets. And they lost to the... Is that the Pacers? Is that the Pelicans? They lost against the Pelicans. All right, they lost against the Pelicans. So 3-1 this week. Not terrible. The Pelicans lost. Not the greatest. Joel Embiid was in that game. Just truly unfortunate. But all in all, they've got a great starting roster. I can always count on Joel Embiid. I can always count on Tobias Harris. I mean, that man steps it up every single night. You know how we feel about those Harris brothers but not brothers. Joe Harris, Tobias Harris. Super freaking consistent. If there was a 5th man of the year, we would give them both the award this year of just kind of not being a true superstar, but just being consistent night in, night out, getting those 20-plus points every single night, not dependent on who's on and who's not on the floor, getting it done consistently, being that kind of main staple in both of their kind of offenses. We know Joel Embiid has gone through spurts of being out for, not long periods of time, but, short little periods of time, and Tobias Harris steps up. Joe Harris for the Nets, once again, kind of, when he was just playing with James Harden out there, when Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant weren't there, he was getting it done consistently. So shout out to the Harris brothers out there. But the 76ers at number 4, Joel Embiid, he's just looking unstoppable out there. And then him paired with Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons, that core 3 really gets it done. And then we just have to really rely on Steph Curry or Danny Green. And usually one of those on a nightly basis gives us that good production that we need from 3. We haven't really seen them kind of step it up together consistently, unfortunately. But then off the bench, we get Shake Milton, Dwight Howard. I mean, man, oh man, what a potential 6th man of the year candidate. I could potentially see that. I mean, he's not playing a lot of minutes off the bench consistently, but when he's out there, you can expect at least 7 rebounds. Doesn't matter what time. 1 minute, he'll get the 7 rebounds. 2 minutes, absolutely. 3, 4, 5, 6, however many minutes he's playing out there, he gets it done. So 76ers back in the top 5 here with Joel Embiid. It's a truly great team overall. Great starting roster, great bench, and they're very, very good out there. So love it. 76ers at number 4. All right, let's go to number 3 here, and we'll move this team up a little bit this week. We'll move up the Jazz to number 3 here. Alrighty, over the last week, they have beaten the Kings and the Thunder, and they lost against the Wizards. So a little bit of a lackluster week, not a really great competition, but they're kind of getting back on track. They're winning without Jordan Clarkson, which kind of tells us a lot. I mean, Jordan Clarkson's giving them like 15 to 19 points off the bench a game. That's huge offensive production, but they're still getting it done without them. Joe Ingles has been a little bit of inconsistent playing over these last couple of games as well, but they just get it done. Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, they're all out there on a nightly basis, going out there and getting it done. So Jazz, decent week here, not the best competition, but compared to everybody else on what they're doing, I just see them very, very consistent out here. And now the pressure's on the Jazz because the Suns just last night moved up to half a game, or no, 1 full game back. I thought it was half, but 1 full game back from the Jazz. So the Jazz need to start winning. The pressure's going to be on with them. We'll see if they fold this week under the pressure, because the Suns, they're just waiting. They're just waiting for that one mistake the Jazz to make, man. So we'll see if the Jazz make it. But but we'll move the Jazz up to number 3. And then that leaves number 1 and number 2 now, and we were going to put the Suns at number 2. Very, very close to that number 1 spot. Don't get me wrong. But we got to save that number 1 spot for another team out here. But this Suns team 4-0 this last week. Absolutely magnificent. They beat the Wizards, the Rocket, the Heat, and the Kings. So no really great wins there for the Suns team, but they're just consistent. That starting roster, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Jay Crowder can all freaking get it done. Bogdanovich can get it done as well. And then their bench of Cameron Payne, Cameron Johnson, Dario Saric. I mean, that gives us all 10 plus points almost every single night. We can always rely on them, especially this last week. The bench has been going absolutely manic. Just last night, right? Last night they had a real great showing. Decent showing. Not their best showing. Their other game against who was it? Damn it, I'm blanking on it. But there was a game. There's been, like, over this last week of their 4-game win streak, they've had multiple games. I would say more than one. I would say at least 2 of all their bench players getting, like, at least 3 of their bench players getting 10 plus points production, and that's absolutely magnificent. That's what the Suns are. A great starting roster, a great bench. They're like the 76ers, but they are a little bit deeper off their bench. So Suns at number 2, this close away from number 1, but the number 1 team we got to put is the Clippers, man, and they've had an absolutely great week as well. But the reason why we had the Clippers over the Suns here, over this last week, the Clippers have beaten the Rockets, the Pistons twice, and the Pacers. So a little bit of a better competition with the Pacers over the Heat for the Suns. But I mean, Kawhi Leonard is still having load management out here, and they're still getting it done with just Paul George out there on the floor. They lost Patrick Beverley as their starting point guard, but Reggie Jackson is, oh my God, he's absolutely insane out there. It's kind of like Reggie Jackson should have been the starting point guard all season. That's how great he's been playing ever since Patrick Beverley went down. They got Rondo out there, so really just they're having different lineups almost every single night out there, whether it's load management or injuries, but they always kind of seem to rise to the occasion, especially ever since kind of that trade deadline. They've really been just shoring up their team every single game, every single week. So got to start respecting this Clippers team a little bit more. 4-0 this week, getting it done, beating some decent competition out there, winning with only, Paul George, winning with only Kawhi Leonard, winning together. And then I'm telling you, that Reggie Jackson stepping up in that starting point guard position is kind of the tipping point for me that put the Clippers over the Suns. I don't know how the Suns would kind of handle one of their starting 5 players being out. I truly don't think they would kind of fare too well, not as well as this Clippers team has. So this Clippers team, they just kind of, their biggest worry right now is just kind of all being on the same page when everybody's 100% healthy. But I mean, I don't think I'm worrying about that. Just they're getting it done. Rondo's kind of providing that extra oomph needed off the bench if it comes to that point. If Reggie Jackson's not getting it done, we can always trust Rondo out there. So really great squad here. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George getting it done on a nightly basis. So gonna respect this Clippers team. Give them the number 1 seed here. Let's see how they kind of fare this week. Let's see if we have to kind of rearrange our kind of number 1 and 2 go into next week. But for what the Clippers have done this week, we've got them at number 1. So our new power rankings going into next week: Hawks at 10, Warriors at 9, Bucks at 8, Nuggets at 7, Celtics at 6, Nets at 5, 76ers at 4, Jazz at 3, Suns at 2, and the Clippers are the new number 1 team in the NBA.